so long.
It's good. It's on now.
Why isn't the intro?
You're not seeing it? Mine says live.
No, this is StreamYard at its worst. Or
yeah,
best.
Well, that's all right. I think that it's short-lived for us. So,
but the intro isn't running, is it?
Nothing's running. It just says live.
This is so weird. I guess we are live. I guess it doesn't know what to do with the intro because it definitely isn't running.
No.
So I'll start this the old way.
All right.
Well, the new old way, like manually. We need an agent for this. We got the right person on the show. But hold on just a second.
Can you tell me what bringing the as means?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Live from the Bellagio in sunny Las Vegas, it's the CRM Playaz. Now, bringing the as, please welcome Brent Leary and Paul Greenberg.
Yeah, that would have worked really well if StreamYard had actually done what it was supposed to.
You know what? Let's do the old-fashioned one too.
All right. I'm Paul. Wait.
No, wait. I'm getting it mixed up.
I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and as you may know by now, we've been bringing the as, whatever that is, since 2009.
Well, you know what? On our intro.
Yeah.
If you look at my thing when you say I have no idea, I literally look like Stan Laurel from Laurel and Hardy. that face is literally Stan Laurel's, that face he does when he's completely bewildered. It's the same damn face.
You know what? Bewildered is a good word because most of the people out there right now probably have no idea who Stan Laurel is.
Yeah, well.
Or Oliver Hardy.
You want to know the truth is that's their problem.
That's their problem.
That's right. Just look up Laurel and Hardy if you have no idea who they are. And if you don't look it up, you're missing something.
Maybe. But you know what? You're not missing?
What?
The moment of Sven is here.
Whoa.
I'm saying that's some kind of Russian, isn't it?
No, Greek.
Greek?
Yeah, but it's Greek script. It's not Greek
Orthodox?
No, Greek Orthodox a religion.
Right. You know what?
Yeah, that's the Orthodox font.
It's all Greek to me.
So it's the Greek Orthodox font.
So is that your guess? Greek?
I'm going to go with Greek.
All right, Sven. He's locked in with Greek. So let us know what it is and what you're saying there. I don't think Rams are in there anywhere.
Who knows?
I don't think so. Anyway, while we wait for Sven to let us know if you're right or not, I saw something that caught my attention, and I think it would catch your attention too.
Okay.
It was, I guess I get rid of this until he actually gets us the answer. Did you hear that Perplexity is putting out a new browser?
Yeah. Comet.
Yes. Here's the promo I saw for their new browser.
Okay.
It made me think a little bit about another speed of.
Yeah. I'm suing.
What about if they let you use Comet free for life?
I'm already signed up for it.
Yeah, I'm on the waiting list.
Yeah, me too. So I'll get it free anyway. So now I'll just sue independently. It's better off.
Well, all right. And guess what?
Yeah, that was the easy one.
You were right.
Yeah, knew it.
Different.
Look, I may fail. I may constantly miss Stump the Godfather, but I rarely miss this one.
I know. Come on, Sven. You got to come up with make some languages up or something. I don't know.
Well, the one he got me on, which is actually a really good one to come up with. The last one he got me on was Esperanto. And actually, the irony is, if I really, it wasn't even like a thought. If I had if I was thinking it as an option, I would have picked it because I know enough about Esperanto to have said, oh yeah, there's a multiple, kind of intersection of multiple languages in one sentence. And then but it did not even enter my mind. So it was a really good one. Got me by going into the multiverse.
The
To an,
multiverse. Whoa,
yeah, went
okay.
to an alternate universe where Esperanto is spoken by anybody.
You know what? So we've been apparently bringing the ads since 2009. So that's 16 and a half years.
Yeah, I know, you ain't kidding.
And just a couple of weeks ago, we got our first intro. First time we had an actual intro to play.
Yeah.
And it's been, 16 and a half years to get that. We just do things differently, don't we? I mean, it's just.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why we are who we are, I guess. I mean, look, we have 6 lost episodes that people never will see, or they wouldn't have seen them even if we found them because it was all audio. But we've been doing this a long time, and without any thought whatsoever.
Yeah, it's amazing that we actually, we actually did our first live event after almost 16 years too.
Yeah, you know what? We're getting older. It's time for some.
It's time to shake it up.
Yeah, shake it up a little bit. I mean, the intro. I like the intro. I do. Even though I am never going to not see Stan Laurel when I see myself now.
But that's not you.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way: when I see the thing that's supposed to represent me,
it's an unreasonable facsimile.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's a good name for a book. Marty, take note.
Ooh, that was what I was going to say. Everybody else does a show, and one of the very first things they do after they say, hello, I'm so-and-so, and you're so-and-so, and we're so-and-so. We never actually introduced the guest until halfway through the show. We don't even mention the names for the most part, where everybody else does that like early on.
Well, they mention it in the first words out of their mouth. We have a great show today. It's going to be we bring blah, 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 like that.
Yeah. You know what? We're never presumptuous enough to say we're going to have a great show today.
No, that's for sure.
I mean, we aspire to that, but
once in a great while we manage it.
Yeah, well, usually due to our guests.
No, always due to our guests.
Yeah, absolutely, always. Because it sure as hell ain't us. I mean,
no.
So I was gonna break with tradition and say who it was, but no, we've had
that's when that would take away there may be an occasion where we can do that, and like it would make sense to do that.
Like if Eric Dickerson was on the show, I would.
Eric Dickerson, we'd be. I don't think we'd be bothering the show. You'd be sitting in his room.
I'd be floating, levitating.
I know.
That kind of thing. But
I think I'll reach out and see if we can get him on.
If you do that, just give me a little heads up because
I'll give you a lot of heads on that one. See, I didn't want to give you any heads up on the cameo thing. It would have ruined the surprise. But if he was actually coming on the show, believe me, I'd give you the minute I found out he was.
I gotta check with my medical professional. I don't know
right.
Shocks like that.
That's right. Well, you know what? We can make sure there's an oxygen tank next to you, right? We'll be all right.
All right. So we're gonna stick with our tradition. And hold on. All I can say is he's a great guest.
Oh yeah. And I got a
multi-talented too.
Yeah. If I'm going to be doing the intro, which
of course I
will, right?
That's why people come on the show is to get your intro.
I got it.
All right. Oh wow. He's got all right. So we got a lot of cliffhangers. So, but before we do any cliffhanging,
I actually once knew a guy whose name was Cliff Hunger.
Cliff Hunger.
Yeah, his actual last name was Hunger. I knew him back in college.
His middle name Games or something?
No, it was just funny. It was like because nobody called him Cliff Hunger, everyone called him Cliff Hanger, right? But his actual last name was Hunger.
No, I don't know how to follow that up, but I'll just push forward and say what we're gonna do here. All right, so this is not yet the Stump the Godfather, but I wanted to build off of one of our shows and I want to see if you knew something about a previous show. It was a previous show, Stump the Godfather, I think. But remember, we were talking about, you were really talking about the data center AI market.
Yeah.
You didn't like that term?
No. It's the stupidest term I've ever heard.
But I did show you it's not just one place. It's actually a thing now.
Well, if it was AI data centers, I could handle it. But data center AI,
Well, you take it up with Lisa Sue from AMD, and she'll
I will.
let me know how that goes. By the way, all right. So I just put this up because it shows how big the data center AI market is going to be. I just love saying that now, but it's gonna grow more than tenfold over the next 5 years, which is pretty substantial. But do you know? And I'm just talking about the good old U.S. of A. here. Do you know what area, geographically speaking, has the highest concentration of data centers?
Yeah, Manassas, Virginia.
I'm
Where I
glad.
live.
I'm glad I
There's a
didn't
data
make
center
this.
every 3 feet. Look at that.
I'm glad I did not put this as a stump the Godfather.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you didn't even have to think about it.
No, because we're in Prince William County.
Do I have another one of these? Let's see. No, I don't. So you're actually in the county which looks like
One of the two.
most.
So Loudoun County is Leesburg, right? And Ashburn and places like that. The center of Prince William County, the largest entity in this county, is Manassas. And we have so many damn data centers here. It's astounding.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I'll tell you, when a number of companies came in to start building the data centers, they wanted to build them on land that was already had houses, right? So the homeowners who probably bought their homes at the time they bought them, if they bought them 20 years ago, probably bought them for $300,000. Does not have a high, property and real estate value in this area. They were paid $2-3 million per house. So
how much?
A lot of them sold.
How much can you get for yours?
Right now, we paid. Well, here's the deal. So we bought ours in '96. We paid. Now, keep in mind, it's 2,400 square feet with some, and that's the developed part of the house. There's other part. If you're taking total square footage, it's probably 2,800, maybe 3,000, something like that. And we have about a third of an acre of land too. And when we bought it in 1996, it was $194,000. That was it. Right now, it's probably the property value is about $750. We could probably sell it for higher though, because we have a lot of stuff like kitchen. Here's the other thing, for example, kitchen. You know how kitchen renovation adds value? The percentage in this area for kitchen renovation is 114% of what you spent. Adds to that. That's how much.
Yeah, but how much could you sell it to make it a data center? Like $4 million?
This house probably.
Oh my
three
God.
to four.
I'd be out of there so fast.
Yeah, but this neighborhood's not going to be a data center because it's all the ones that they bought were kind of small number of houses, kind of spread out a little bit. This area is fully developed.
I'd go around to my neighbors, say, hey, look, let's like pull together, sell this whole block for $20 million.
The other thing, well, they'd have another problem. The Verizon fiber optics hub for the area is on my lawn.
That makes, then you get the biggest share.
Well, yeah, Verizon might not be too happy though.
Oh shoot, they'll make more money as your house being a data center.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
All right, well, if you ever need me to come up there and
well, I'm using AI in the house, so they don't have much to have to do.
There it is. So let's go ahead and get that out of the market for, let's say, a cool $6 million. And
that's right. We'll go for 6.
I'll take
for 5.
10%.
It's all yours.
Finder's fee, and
you can have it.
All right, we better move on. Let's see what we got. Why don't we just take this guy?
That was like so easy when you said that.
I know. I kind of threw me off.
That's all over the place here. It's like I've seen those kind of stats. I didn't know it was 253, but I knew the other two.
I mean, you were, yeah. I mean, that was rather impressive. All right. Man, I don't want to go to my go-to yet because we still have a little bit of time. All right. So I don't know if you saw this, and I don't know if I have I don't think I have a slide for this one, but last week, Sam Altman on July 4th. And by the way, Bob says threaten to cut the fiber and ask for more money. Right. Not a bad idea, actually.
I'll work on it.
Yeah. So Sam Altman on July 4th put out a a pretty substantial sized tweet about kind of his kind of like the July 4th. Remember? Well, you don't remember when Frederick Douglass.
Remember when Washington?
No, well, when Frederick Douglass in 1852, he made this speech about what to the slave is July the 4th.
Right.
And I read it every year because it's just one of those things that I feel compelled to read every year. Then somehow I don't know how I got on where I saw this. I think it was some sort of article where it was talking about what Sam Altman put out on July 4th, the morning of July 4th. It kind of talks about his principles and how he feels about America and being American. So I said, all right, that must mean he's doing a what to the billionaire is July 4th. So, Frederick Douglass was speaking about his experiences on 1852. And I said, okay, maybe now we got a what to the billionaire equivalent. I'm not going to pull up everything, but one of the things he said, all right, so one of the things he talked about is techno-capitalism. Have you ever heard of that term?
I've heard it on and off over the years in one form or another. Not always as techno-capitalism, but more like, capitalism driven by technology or technology companies, really. I've heard that, but I didn't read Sam Altman's thing because obviously I was kind of tied up. But
oh, wait a minute, I do have all right. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just want to go to I believe in techno-capitalism. We should encourage people to make tons of money and then also find ways to widely distribute wealth and the share of compounding and share the compounding magic of capitalism. I agree with that.
Yeah,
but does that actually happen?
Right. I don't believe it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I've read Frederick Douglass's statement. I mean, I'm not like you, of course, every year, but I've read it. When you read it, you're moved by it.
Absolutely.
Just, right. Because it's also was the thing that also comes across as well as the principle, the principles embedded in it is him. Right. And I don't believe this guy for anything he says. So
the words taken on face value, who would disagree with that?
Well, of course, we need to give back is all he's trying.
But in reality, and in practice, has that happened? I mean, and then this other part, and I think this is where he starts getting into the guy who won the Democratic primary. I guess he said something about we shouldn't have billionaires or something like that. And so he says, he says he's kind of like doesn't have a political identity or he's not a part of any.
Yeah, well, he's not part of a party.
Yeah. And he said, I'd rather hear from candidates about how they are going to make everyone have the stuff billionaires have instead of how they are going to eliminate it. There's no way that there's going to be more billionaires running around percentage-wise than there are now. It's all
complete BS. You know what? If you really believed it, don't even put it out there and just go do it.
I would love for that. That's what I was saying. It's like those words are great, but we all know that ain't going to happen. So I don't know. I juxtapose, like you were saying, what Frederick said.
Oh my God, it's like Jesus Christ. I mean, again, from my standpoint, I remember the first time I read Frederick Douglass's statement. I was in politics at the time still, and it was amazing because on the one hand, you not only felt him, you not only felt his belief, you felt the era, right? You actually felt the era. You felt the time it was made by, and you knew that this guy was writing not from the heart and the head, and it would put it into action. Sam Altman's just shallow, typical.
I'd rather you not say it if you really don't.
I won't,
because I mean, what's the point of you saying it when you know it's never going to happen? I mean, it's one of these statements saying, "Look how wonderful I am,"
right? That's what it's one of those.
Well, he's one of the leaders in techno-capitalism, of course. You know,
right? And you know what? That's why I don't believe a word he says either. I have yet to. It's interesting to me that we do hear about, you know, even for when we're mad at some of these guys, we do hear about some of the good that they do with their philanthropy and their,
absolutely.
you know, I've never heard a word about anything he's done philanthropic ever. And I look for this stuff. It's like I actually pay attention to. I can't say let me see what Sam Altman has done philanthropically. I don't say I do that, but I listen for it. And I've never heard a word about anything. So, you know, Sam Altman, please be quiet until you can prove you actually do something about that.
By the word, I don't think you'll ever use the word philanthropic because anthropic is anyway.
Oh, that's right.
Just kidding.
Well, no, I'm using Claude Pro, so.
Look at Bob coming through.
Oh, going right in there.
What a nice little
way to go, Bob.
Segue in there. How about that?
It's gonna ruin my intro though if he keeps it up.
Well, but before we do that,
oh, I'm not ready for that yet. We got time.
Yeah, but are you ready for this?
Oh, you ready for this?
And
no,
now
I'm never
it's time
ready for that.
Stump.
Yeah, let me get my mic so I can use it on
the
something.
venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
You always gotta let Benny ride out.
Oh, of course. That's the only thing good about it.
Oh, I would say that. But it is that time, folks, and we know you've been waiting for it. We love to bring it to you. And I have a little bit of a new
Most of us love
a little new spin on this. I got a little new thing here with Stump the Godfather.
See if it improves my mood.
I doubt it will.
The mood you just ruined.
So going for this week's Stump the Godfather question, here it is.
A leading analyst firm recently predicted the global agentic AI market could reach this dollar amount by 2030. What is that figure in dollars?
Oh, nice move.
Let me try that again. I want to get it always starts like cutting off the first word. Say this again. Let's do this again.
APG, a leading analyst firm recently predicted the global agentic AI market could reach this dollar amount by 2030. What is that figure in dollars?
Now that's I'm really liking this Geo video thing from Google, the Geo a VO3. I think it's
VO, right? VO3.
I have to say, I am so impressed with how that looked and sounded. You know, like you back in the day, you would get that monster voice, and like the people's mouths wouldn't be matched at nearly.
Or the other thing would happen is you'd hear some AI generated voice, and it would like emphasize the wrong part of the word.
Yeah,
like it would like instead of perspective, it would say perspective, right? Or else it would run on the second half of the word into the first half of the next word.
But that one is really
it's pretty good.
Good.
Now I've already forgotten the question though. No, I remember it.
It's let me bring
size of the global size of the agentic AI market by 2030.
No, I'll bring it up so you can see. Yeah, there it is. So this comes from actually I got this stat from our guest book.
Oh, so he can't guess.
No, well
actually, if he
did guess and he didn't get it right, that would be pretty tragic.
He'll get it right.
We'll spare him that. But all right, so everybody out there, anybody out there, your guess. And do you want me
just agentic AI, by the way, to remind everybody, not all AI.
And I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a little bit of hint. Hold on, let me go back one slide there. So now this is what people are projecting just for the global agentic AI market, and this is the worldwide. I just said global. So it was 5.2 billion last year, and let's go by what it says in 2030, since the question was 2030. So, okay, Bob, hold on just a second. All right, so just the agentic AI market is expected to be 46 billion.
But that's the question.
No, that's not the question. Let's go back to the actual question. A leading global analyst consulting firm predicts agentic AI could add this amount to the global economy.
How is that not the question?
Wow. Let's go back one more time.
That's the global agentic AI market is 46 billion.
Yeah, but this is not asking about that. This is asking what impact will that have?
And there's the answer.
Oh, Damn it.
You went to the wrong slide.
That's because I kept on back and forth because you kept on asking these questions.
I don't even
That
understand
was a
how
good question too.
I wouldn't have come close. I will admit,
Oh, Bob
admit
definitely
right
didn't
now,
come close because he had
I wouldn't have
45
come
billion.
even close. I would have, you know what I would have guessed? If I ever understood the question, what I probably would have guessed.
It's an easy question.
I would, maybe 1 trillion is at the most.
Yeah, well, you would have been in the ballpark, kind of. Bob is at
but
45
there's no way in
billion.
hell I would have guessed 13
See, this is what
trillion.
Bob was. Bob thought he was answering this question.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I thought we were answering too.
No, I was just saying this is the actual global.
That is the
AI
revenue,
market,
the predicted
not the
revenue to be
impact.
derived
No,
from.
that's
That's the market size.
this is I'm talking about impact on the economy in the actual answer.
So with
13
the amplified
trillion.
impact on the economy.
Yeah, so I was basically
Adding
saying
dollars. See, when you say adding dollars, though, it sounds linear, not nonlinear.
it's adding to the global economy.
No, it's not just adding dollars; it's impacting the global economy, which would add dollars beyond it. Right? It's a terribly worded question.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
It's not that bad. You guys thought it meant something else. Yeah,
no,
see,
it's very easy to think
Bob.
that.
Oops.
That's the problem.
That's the appropriate answer.
is
Oops.
The problem is
I accept your oops, Bob.
the problem is that's easy to interpret the way we did.
Well, that's because you guys are you thought you had me, but you
No,
didn't.
I didn't think I had you. I had no
thought
idea
you thought I was going to zig and I zagged on you guys.
No, you didn't do that either.
I did.
I looked at I saw the answer before the question was answered, so you didn't zag.
Well, I got
you
Bob.
went right back to
45
zig.
billion.
You went right back to zig.
Well, no, you double zagged on
What
me.
happened? That's exactly.
That's why I got it.
Went
I
from
got
zig
confused.
to zag.
I got
to
a little
double
dizzy.
zig to double zag and a
got a
triple
little
zig, and that was
dizzy.
the end of it.
I got a little dizzy. That's all.
Dizzy.
But I thought. All
Zigzag.
right, forget. So what do you think of that number?
I think it. Do I think it? I mean, you know what? Look, if I'm looking at the impact of agentic AI on the economy as a whole, and meaning it has a ripple effect on other things other than itself, I could half believe that number. Meaning, I don't know. I mean, that's such a large number; it's almost hard to fathom.
It's a third of our the debt that we have.
Yeah. Well, see, I guess what I would be curious about would be what's the impact. So we had said 5.2 billion now in 2024, right? So what the answer to this question, 5.2 in 2024. So what would be the answer to the question as of the end of 2024?
Well,
See,
it's
that would
definitely not
be
going to be anywhere near 13 trillion.
No, it wouldn't be, but I'd be curious as to the multiplier, I guess. You know, that's all.
Well,
That's what I mean.
you ask ChatGPT and see if it or Perplexity.
No, I'll ask Claude. I paid for that one.
Claude, okay.
I'm using it as much as I can.
Either way, you and Bob were kind of.
Me and Claude are good buddies now.
All right.
My wife thinks I'm such good buddies. She calls him my boyfriend.
I'm just going to move past that. And
what can I say?
What I can say is now it's time. Thank God it's time to introduce our guest this week. I turn things over to the venerable Paul Greenberg to introduce our guest.
Okay, so I indirectly met this guy back in, must be 2011, 2012, something like that, when I read a book called House of Lies. And then in 2012, I saw there was a TV series by the name and starred one of my favorite actors. Oh, and one of my favorite, actually, actresses / comedians too, in terms of being a good comic actress, Don Cheadle and Kristen Bell. So I watched the whole series, really liked the series. I think it lasted 4 years or so. And I didn't realize at the time, of course, that was this guy. I mean, it was a hit TV show for 4 seasons. The book was a bestseller. It was really an excellent book too. Extremely well written book. Then years later, there's this big conference room at Salesforce, and it was I think it was during Dreamforce, we held an analyst meeting in this big, airy conference room. And this guy, his name is Marty Kihn, stood up and he starts talking about subjects of the time, but he did it in a way that was really amazing. One is the level of knowledge was deep, and two, he was funny, right? He has a really dry kind of droll wit, and that, for me, that's like, okay, I'm in love. That's it, right? That's it.
I didn't know you were in love.
Oh yeah. Once I hear somebody who knows a lot about something that interests me and then does it with like droll wit, are you kidding? That's it. I mean, I'm smitten. So I talked to him briefly. Well, briefly, it was about 5 minutes afterwards, and realized he was the same guy as the other Marty Kihn who did the other thing. And I started asking him, a little bit about why he did what he did, how he ended up at Salesforce. Now, fast forward, we've seen him many times at various Salesforce events over the years. And recently, he came out with a book on Agentforce. But it's not really a book on Agentforce per se. It's a book on AI. And of course, in the context of Agentforce, given that Salesforce's key product, but it's written, there it is. And it's written kind of in the way that Mark Benioff wrote his books on, capitalism. Yes, the Salesforce people, but they're written as thought leadership documents, I'll call it right now. And once again, incredibly well written. So let's bring on this superstar, the one I'm smitten with, Marty Kihn.
You're not only smitten, you said you're in love and smitten. So that's like
I was that day. That day did me in.
You're smellovin'. Here's your smellovin'.
Smellovin'. God, that's an awful word. That's the world's worst word.
Thank you for joining us today, Marty.
That's the best introduction I've ever had by far. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All true, man. Every bit of it.
I think you may be the only one who actually read those books. But thank you for that.
No, I read those.
Hey, I watched the show.
The show. I read the book before the show. That's why I watched the show, because I really liked the book, right? I thought it was great. And they're a little different. The thing about the book was all that sarcastic wit you have was in that book, right? It was very clear when you were reading it that whoever this writer was, that guy knew his stuff and was really sharp and funny and edgy
and droll and
yes. Other word? And then and you know what? And then somehow you managed to get Don Cheadle and Kristen Bell cast. That was it for me.
Kristen Bell. I'm trying to figure that name out because we were talking about this on the happy hour yesterday, and I knew Don Cheadle. But I was like, and the blonde lady.
You couldn't Kristen Bell? How do you not know her?
My sister sent me a text yesterday, and it was a screenshot from Netflix. And she's like, guess what's coming to Netflix? And House of Lies in July 27th is going to be available. The whole series on Netflix.
I'm going to rewatch it. The only guy I really liked was the guy who tried to be like, I can't remember. He's a good actor, and I've seen him do other things before, but I can't think of his name. The guy who was kind of the one who was like, always trying to say how important he was, and he really was not very good. I can't think of the guy's name. He's that slim guy, and he was always mocking that other guy who always felt pathetic. I can't think of his damn name now. I've seen him in half a dozen things since. He was very good. But let's, look, honestly, we could talk House of Lies forever, and as of July 27th, I will be watching it right again. So.
I recommend the episode with Matt Damon. I think that's my favorite. That's a good one.
Our buddy Bob Fagel says to ask you, how is Jerry?
How is Jerry? Jerry's my cat. During COVID, Jerry became much better known than me and much more popular. And if Jerry wasn't in the meeting, the Zoom meeting, then they canceled the meeting.
What kind of cat is he?
He's an orange tabby cat. He's very outgoing, very dynamic, and I think he's really, really intelligent. Actually, he does all my writing, so and he does my taxes. He's really cool.
Wow.
I would think
I hire him for next year.
I would have thought you might go on the agent route with that, but I didn't.
Amazing.
Anyway, last time we saw you were writing a book on CDP, and now you're on Agentforce here. When did you start writing this book? Because, a lot of people last year were only talking about generative AI, and it really picked up towards the end of last year. And now it's all anybody's talking about. But when did you start writing this book? Because you were ahead of the game.
Yeah, there was a commercial on the Super Bowl. It was Matthew McConaughey. It was for Agentforce. And then the kickoff was really December. It didn't really take off within Salesforce until it was championed by Mark Benioff, like aggressively. And we had a kickoff internally, and he's like, "This is our focus and everything, all in on the agents." And so at that point, it really accelerated. And then Wiley actually approached me, and they're like, "We'd like to do a book on Agentforce because a lot of people are talking about it. It's very interesting." And I'm like, "Well, it'll be out of date by the time it comes out because this thing's like." It's progressing so quickly. So they're like, no, we can get it out really fast. So for a book, I wrote it, February, March into April, and it came out in June. And for a book, that's incredibly fast. So
also, it was incredibly fast. You wrote it incredibly fast, 2.5 months.
I did write it pretty fast. Yeah, that's true.
Jesus Christ. I never wrote a book in under 10 months.
Yeah.
Never.
But this one wrote itself. It was really because there's so much to say, and agents are so interesting, and also, we had a good story. And like you said, Paul, it's not only about Agentforce.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's a thought leadership book, really. I mean, that's what it is. Much more geared that way. I do have a slightly longer term question to ask you, because we had Michael Wu on a couple of weeks ago, and he actually made a statement in the course of the conversation that he was originally he never saw AGI as a possibility, and now he's kind of coming around. I'm really curious as to your take on it. I'm still a bit of a skeptic. I think I'm probably more skeptical than Michael is, but I'm curious to your take on it because look, we're looking at Meta put in not only are they trying to poach OpenAI scientists and personnel, but putting $2.5 billion into attempting to get to AGI. So, and fill us in on how you're thinking about that whole thing.
I don't know. Well, we're not there yet, obviously. And I don't think AI is as good as people say. It's making people lazy. That's for sure. Well, everyone I know, it's sad, really. People just giving up their, desire to write and do any math and, draw. And I think we really need to keep those skills up. But we're not at AGI yet. I think the thing about it is, I don't know how important it is, if we reach that point or not, because the point is that these tools can do human-like labor, and they can already do kind of thought processes and they're legal bots and so on. So to the extent that you can point these machines at certain tasks that we need to get done, that's what we need. That's as far as we need to go. So if we have some kind of system that is more flexible and can go beyond us, I guess that would bring us to the next level. But I don't know if there's going to be a moment when everything becomes really good. It's already really good, So
like
we won't notice it.
Yeah. So a lot of, and you already mentioned about the speed and the fact that you were able to get this book turned around in like 4 or 5 months is kind of incredible. But how long do you think we have, and I'm talking, kind of from an enterprise perspective, how long do you think people have to really not only get it to act, but actually use it effectively before things change again? And now we're going from generative to agentic to whatever, because things are moving so quickly.
Well, it was like a nascent technology that last year, because everyone talked about prompt engineering and really, right. Prompts are really just a form of code. It's just kind of very close to natural language, so it feels like it's a conversation. But you got to be very careful with the prompt. And in the beginning, they're like, because slight changes in the input can have big changes in the output. But over time, that has improved. So we have agents pointed at the prompts to improve the prompts. And then, you can add a lot more data to prompts now. And then the models themselves have become so much bigger and more sophisticated. So I think the point, like the beginning point when people actually had to have some skill to use these models and to manipulate, and they were still there a little bit. And, people implementing agents need a little bit of skill for sure. but it's kind of less skill required every month. And so I think in a year or two, it'll actually be very easy to create agents and applications, and just almost anyone can do it. And I think that most people will use these tools without actually knowing how they work.
I think that's
what
really
they
important.
do.
To me, that's
we've even gone
That's the danger. You too much trust, you know.
We've gone to, like you mentioned, prompts. Like the last year, that was all everybody's talking about: prompt engineering, and then like job descriptions. Prompt engineers could get 300,000. I don't even hear people talking about it now. Now I hear vibe coding. Is that kind of what the natural progression of, like you said, as these things poke their head up, they get smashed down by the new thing, and it also kind of works as people who never could really prompt. Now they got like the vibe coding. Oh, now they don't even know they're prompting, but they're prompting now. So is all this easiness, like you were saying, is it actually a all net good?
It is a net pot, because I think, you know, one of the, in my opinion, these large language models, I mean, they've had two things that really helped me personally. One is that they're really good at summarizing. So you can take massive amounts of something, and that's really very helpful. Like summarizing my Slack, thank you for doing that. And then the other thing that they're very good at is they're very good at summarizing, but they're also very good at kind of brainstorming, coming up with things that you can kind of look through and pick out. And so it's like it's almost like having an intern on your team, but someone with an interesting background.
Well, no, but that's actually, look, the value of AI is that it helps you do stuff, really, ultimately, right? And that's, I don't think it's complex unto itself as far as what goes into it, but the net value of it is not complicated. If it helps you do stuff,
I think it's made software easier to use, which has been a plus, because you used to have to know SQL to pull a segment, and then you'd have to be like a power user, even a couple of years ago. But now you can just describe a segment using natural language, and it will be the SQL will be written behind the scenes, but you don't have to know how to do it.
Well, that's I mean,
so software's becoming easier to use.
Well, it's like in a certain way, it's like anything else we've ever seen. Period. Which is, it becomes useful at the point when you don't have to think about it. You just kind of use it, right? And AI, interestingly enough, is becoming useful. I'll tell you though, it's interesting the perception that I hear too, though. So I was talking to this company about 3 months ago, who's very big into the voice part of stuff. More initially on the IVR side, and then a little more on the conversational side later on. And they're a partner of another company that uses them for almost everything related to that. And they had just retooled their entire platform around AI, and they said, "Do you think that there's a market for voice this way?" And I said, they were wondering, and I said, "Why are you even wondering about that?" I said, "Look, here's the thing. The way I looked at it was this. I said that the power of AI has nothing to do with, or the growing ubiquity of AI has nothing to do with AI. It had to do with the Gen AI, which was a right brain kind of response, meaning you could talk to it. I mean, Rob Pinkerton, who we've referenced a few times on this, he's the EVP over at Oracle CX, actually said what he likes about ChatGPT is he can yell at it." Right. Well, but that's true, right? That
doesn't get offended. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
but the reason it got as popular, and then what that did is it accelerated, of course, development and research, and the whole thing took off after that. But it was basically a triggered, behavioral response, not a better use of the left brain side of AI, right? AI has been around since the 50s in Dartmouth, and has evolved ever since. So and that to me, it goes to that point is you said it, it's one of the things you mentioned earlier, it's human-like, right? And that's the part that generated the acceleration of it. And so how do you think about do you think that's the case, or
there was a GPT-1 and a GPT-2. They existed, They weren't that great, but they're also not that easy to use.
Right.
You basically had to go to Hugging Face and download some software, and you had to be almost a data scientist. But then GPT-3 came out, and it was not GPT-3. That's the model, but Chat GPT. So it's basically an application, and you could chat with it, and that's when it took off.
Yes.
And it's because it was a conversational interface, and it was extremely easy to use, and it was plausible. The back and forth was plausible. So that's when it took off, and but these models have been around for a while. I mean, they got much better very fast, but that's true.
One of the things, your day job is SVP of Strategy for Marketing Cloud, right? And so,
true.
First of all, I don't know where you get all the time to do all this stuff you're doing, but that's for another conversation. But a lot of times when we get into these conversations and discussions, it's usually around the impact that AI agentic is having on customer service. Starting to hear a little bit more about sales, but it traditionally has been really heavy on the customer service side. But you are, SVP of Strategy on the Marketing Cloud, and I think we asked Tara Dazal over at Pega, because she's on the marketing side of this too. But I'd love to get your take on this. A lot of the agentic discussion is around autonomous, being able to, turn certain things over, not just directives, but now they can reason, and because all the data they have at their disposal, and act if you want them to act on their own or have semi-autonomy or whatever. But it's all kind of leading from a enterprise perspective to this autonomous enterprise, or the potential for that. What does that mean from a pure marketing perspective? Like all the things, and I'm sure you cover some of this in your book too. But instead of hearing all the customer service stuff, which is great, what does autonomous enterprise from a marketing perspective do? And how does these agents in Agentforce help companies integrate that into what they do?
No, I mean, it's a good question. And it is different. You're right. It's because customer service it's very adaptable. You can see, because it's actually a conversation usually. And you're like, well, these things can converse, and we can automate that. And so that was really a natural spot. And there's also no company feels they have enough customer service agents. So if you're adding more capacity to the workforce, then that's even better. Even if you don't replace anybody, you just have more customer service. I think on the marketing side, it's not really conversation. I mean, it's supposed to be one-to-one and all that stuff, but they're not in the form of conversations. Really, you have campaigns. That's what marketers do. They come up with, the process. So the question is then, well, how can agents, or how can agentic AI be applied to the existing marketing process? Are there things that can be on the back end, like efficiencies that can be gained? So things that are manual that could be automated using agents. And then on the other side, are they from the customer side, are there ways you can improve personalization and measurement? And I think that you could take each piece of it. And the fact, I worked at an agency, and you guys know this well. It's like there's a lot of marketing that is very manual to this day. People sending emails back and forth, and but even in Excel, cutting and pasting, all this is still done. And so there is definitely room for efficiency. I think from the ultimate vision in marketing would be you'd have sort of the self-driving campaign. And you see this a little bit in the programmatic ad space, where you can come up with a brief and a product and an idea, and then an agent could write a brief, and then another agent could pull the segment from the brief, and then another agent could come up with the media plan, and then another one, if you give it budget approval, can buy the media. And then another one could, track the impact of, what's happening in the market, and then do an optimization. So you could have, agent number 6 figure out how to improve the spend of the media to make it work better. And then there could be agents for the creative part as well, like writing the text and the copy and all that. So you could theoretically, and no one is doing this yet, I haste that I know of, but you could theoretically just come up with the idea and then monitor it. But the agents could be throughout the process, creating a campaign, executing a campaign, improving the campaign.
So
you have the self-driving campaign.
Take it a little further to the edge of this, which is there is an intersection. When you're looking at like journey orchestration and journey management, it's kind of the intersection between marketing and service, really. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in there that combine the two. And I am starting to get some inklings from here and there, actually, of companies that are focusing on journey orchestration, journey management with agentic AI, with agents now. I mean, I'd be curious because I know you have, Salesforce has always had an interest in that. How say Agentforce gets applied to the journey management, journey orchestration universe, and what that means from an agentic standpoint. And maybe it's not being applied that way yet, but I'm curious as to how you look at it. Again, it's not quite marketing and it's not quite service, but it's right in the crux of it both.
No, we do. I mean, we have built agents that focus on designing journeys for people. It's very hard to sit down with a blank screen and come up with the perfect customer journey. And so it's nice to have some help, and agents can certainly help. They'll look at past campaigns and so on. I think the goal, and we haven't mentioned Data Cloud, but Data Cloud is CDP. So it sits underneath Agentforce. Agentforce is the layer on top.
Right.
And Data Cloud is the unified view of customer, but it's for all the departments. It's for anyone who touches customer. So it'd be marketing and service and sales and loyalty and e-commerce, and they should all be working off the same data and also have the same insights and the same recommendations. And so it's very consistent. And the idea would be then, from the customer's point of view, they feel like it's very coherent, their experience with the company, and it's been thoughtfully put together, and then they're more likely to convert because next best action, all that stuff. But I think it's expanding, to answer your question, Paul, it's expanding the journey to the entirety of customer experience.
Yeah, I actually think that's
just very hard to do.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really there yet.
Not
I
really.
mean, it was hard enough to do before there was AI, right?
Yeah.
And AI is not making it easier, really. I mean, the net result will, but the attempt to is really, really hard. I mean, what's of all the AI, of everything involving anything related to AI, what's the thing that you think is just so cool?
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is maybe just me, but
That's right.
I have from a writing perspective. So I'm a writer, and
Of course.
it took me many decades to become a writer. And so I'm not going to let anybody do my writing for me. I would let a person do it.
Amen.
So I do my own stuff, but I have no artistic ability. And I'm just amazed by, like you showed the video earlier, the creation of these kind of full motion videos that are pixel perfect, and they're very convincing. It's like, almost 100% convincing. It's very impressive. So the idea that you could just be sitting in your bedroom and create a movie from beginning to end, and you can see all the visuals. I mean, wow. And that's coming pretty fast.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm first on writing. Like you're like me. It's like old-fashioned purist when it comes to writing.
Yeah.
It's your voice.
I think I'm the last, we and I, the last generation of people who are going to do their own writing.
I know. I am
Sad.
so there.
So one of the things that I think are, I don't know, it's got to be frustrating for even some of your customers, I guess, to try to keep up with these things. And when they finally kind of get a grasp or a handle on something like generative and how they really benefit from it, then agentic kind of takes the center stage. How do companies figure out what the relationship is between the latest the one hot AI thing that they can benefit from, then all of a sudden, before they even really have a full grasp of what that is and how it can help them, this other thing kind of comes in. Are they asking about relationships? Are they asking about is this a replacement or is this something complementary? How do you help them get through all the stuff that's coming at them at this moment?
Yeah, it's not. I think that two things are going on. One is people are actually pretty excited by all this stuff. So there's a certain amount of fear, but in general, most of the customers, at least that I meet, are actually very interested, and they use Claude in their real life and so on. So I think there's a it's almost like a new toy, or some
Yeah.
people are into it,
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of resistance. But in terms of an enterprise, like adopting AI and even agentic AI in the workflows, and it all depends on what's worked for other people, and what their competitors might be doing. And so people are testing, they're trying things out. It's hard to implement some of these, harder than people think sometimes, to implement some of these agentic systems. But if something works, then it will be adopted, and it'll be adopted very quickly. So that's why, the call center, the chatbots, like we have now better chatbots because of AI, and they're being adopted very, very fast. Email now is routinely written by generative AI. And so anything like that, that's easy to do, will be done. But most teams, they don't have enough people also, so it's got to be really easy.
So when you're talking to a customer and the customer says, I'm doing this and this and this, and I really need agentic AI for it, or AI for it, and you think, nah, you don't really. What do you tell them?
Well, it's a big topic, but we're like, start with CDP, start with the data cloud. So is your data story in order? How good is your data? And then let's talk about, what about AI? And there's so much you can do with it. So the question is, where would it help the business the most? May not.
What if it's a place where it really doesn't help it, and that? What do you then? What you tell them? No.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't met anyone like that yet. There are definitely companies though that aren't ready. That they don't have the
fair enough. Probably more likely scenario.
And they tend to know it too. They're like, we're not ready.
Well, I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, so we don't want to hold you too long. But
I do.
Well, we can't. I know you have that love and whatever that other word was you used. But your book has a lot of stuff in it. We couldn't possibly get a deep dive into that. But what are the most important things that you think are important to really focus heavily on in the book, so that these companies who have all these questions have some place to go and start getting those answers?
I think it's good to see, we have a bunch of pre-built agents for different industries, so little workflows and processes. It's good to look through those and see kind of what agents are capable of doing today, so that it'll get people thinking. And then in terms of what to know, that it's very important to focus on the trust, security, governance, all that stuff around data security, like what we call the trust layer.
Yeah.
And then, zero leakage. And so I think paying a lot of it, and most companies, their lawyers force them to do this, but to pay attention to governance and security is really probably.
All right. One final question for you though. So have you ever had that? No, we don't need to ask them as sports teams anymore. Have you ever had the urge to write a novel again?
A novel?
Yeah. Fiction. I should say, not a novel. Fiction.
Well, I did a LinkedIn post about this not long ago. I have written many unpublished novels.
Oh,
wow!
Quite a few.
When are you going to publish them? When are you going to put it? Do you have any plans on publishing any of them?
I don't know. Maybe in my golden years. We'll see.
Boo.
Maybe.
It sounds like his guy's got like the Prince mentality. He's got a whole bunch of unreleased stuff in a vault somewhere.
Yeah.
Old stuff gathering dust. Got to keep moving.
Well, anytime you want to have somebody review your unpublished manuscript, I'm available. And I happen to be a great editor. I really am. So.
And he loves you, so
I'm smitten.
Excellent.
So I will make
that.
sure your voice is protected in the editing.
Thank you for that.
I know that. So I'm just available, letting you know. Don't forget, I'm retired from a lot of this stuff now, so I got time.
Yeah, and you're in the center of the data centers, I guess.
I know. I literally am. I mean, I'm not joking. I could drive about 2 miles from here and find 4 data centers.
That's a fact I learned today. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. And what about the 13 trillion? Did you know that before?
Yeah, but there's other estimates, not from McKinsey, that are different than 13 trillion.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The truth is nobody knows.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, it was like, that's the thing that used to get me about all these Gartner numbers too, which is it's going to be in 2030, it'll be 138.74 billion. How the hell do you even get to 0.74 I'm sorry. I mean, broad estimates, okay, try them, but nothing can be that specific. I mean, forget it.
I know one thing that could be that specific. Marty, where can people get your book?
Oh, well, I recommend going to Amazon. Just type in Agentforce. It'll pop right up, and get a number of copies, for the whole family. And leave a nice
3-year-old,
review.
your 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well,
All ages.
thanks again for joining us, man.
You're the best.
My
man.
pleasure. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Whenever you read another book, just let us know. We'll
You'll be.
that'll be later this year.
That's right. Or when you decide to publish the unpublished manuscript.
Oh yeah.
You could do a fiction episode. Excellent.
That we got other shows that can handle that.
Yeah.
Right. So.
All right. Well, on behalf of your formal name is Martin, but we call you Marty. Is that all right?
Marty.
On behalf of Marty Kihn, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz. And Marty, you might know how we end the show, or you might know what we end the show with. One of your colleagues.
That's Minnie.
Well, not the Minnie is not one of your colleagues,
right?
Minnie's
owner is your colleague.
And Chin Minnie is the official mascot of the CRM Playaz. So we always end with her. So, all right, folks, we will. Well, we'll
see you on July 31st, right?
Yeah. So, let me take Minnie down so you can explain why.
All right.
Come on, Minnie doesn't want to go down. There you go.
So yeah. So next week I will be leaving for Newfoundland for a week and coming back following Thursday. So there won't be shows either next Thursday or the Thursday following. But on the 31st, we are working on, I don't want to say we have it yet, a special show. I'm not going to announce it just in case we don't have it. Right. So we'll leave it up to your boundless imaginations as to what it is.
Yeah. There may be a pop-up a few good minutes in there since we can't do the players, but
right.
Watch
for it.
Yeah, you're just gonna watch for the pop.
Reruns. We'll do reruns.
Anyway, we will see you in a couple 3 weeks, I guess. The 31st, is that 3 weeks? Yeah, I guess so. All right. Until then, America. Let's take care. Just wanted to do that for some reason. All right, take care, guys.
Good night, Mr.